Time to get inspired, develop, and improve your yoga knowledge in English. You're listening to Your Yoga in English, a podcast for non-native English-speaking yogis and yoga teachers that want to practice or teach yoga worldwide. My name is Annie, the founder of Enga Unite, and here to guide you on your way to become the confident, effective, and knowledgeable English-speaking yogi you want to be. Excited to be here for our weekly training. Every Thursday we're here with some very nice topics for yoga teachers. And today is one I am very, very passionate about. Something that I speak about all the time, and it's our yoga teacher skills. And specifically, the 6-step process to becoming a confident English-speaking yoga teacher. Hello, thank you for joining everyone. We're live on Facebook, live on Instagram, so you'll see me switching between screens a little bit. And I'm happy you're here. So, if you're watching this, chances are that you are one of the two things I'm going to mention. Either, number one, you're a yoga teacher that has done their training in another language than English, but now wants to learn how to teach yoga in English to teach internationally. So maybe you're number one, maybe you're number two, a yoga teacher that already teaches yoga in English, but wants to improve their skills. So let's dive in. Before I start the 6-step process, I just want to help you understand a few very important points to know. Now, having completed your yoga teacher training, you are already very aware of the effort and the commitment that goes into completing your studies. But you also know that when you finish your yoga teacher training, it doesn't stop there. There's always more to learn because there's new inventions, there's new discoveries, there's new types of language that we have to learn and adapt to, but there's also different styles and different types of people. And maybe as you grow and as you teach longer and longer, there are new things that keep coming up. And there's always something else to learn. Even though teaching yoga might not feel like a job because you're very passionate about it and this is something that you really love doing, to lead an effective class that's inclusive and well-rounded, you are required to have specific knowledge about specific topics. And these specific topics could be asanas and their energetics, or anatomy and the body parts. It could be cueing and instructional language, metaphorical or theming language, inclusivity. This list goes on. There's many things to learn and to study and to keep yourself developing in. So when you're a native English speaker and you first teach yoga, chances are that you aren't aware so much of the words and expressions and the vocabulary for your job. It's because if you're not a yoga teacher already and your friends and your family aren't yoga teachers either, the topics that you speak about in your yoga class and the type of language that you need for cueing and instructions aren't words and expressions that you use on any random day. It's very specific. But imagine you're a non-native English speaker that now wants to learn how to teach yoga in English. You're going to a general English class or a business English class. You study English for exams. The thing is, the terminology that you learn there is very different from the terminology that you need to teach yoga. We're speaking about the 6-step process to becoming a confident English-speaking yoga teacher. So, to summarize, the language that you learn in a general English class is not the language that you need for yoga. And especially not the language that you need for teaching yoga. So, 3 things here that are important are learning a language is a challenge. Learning to speak a language is a skill. But learning to teach yoga in another language is an expertise. I'm going to dive in. So, learning a language is a challenge. When learning a language, you are faced with many different challenges, of which 4 big challenges, which are speaking, reading, listening, and writing. We name these our productive or our receptive skills. And each of these skills require thorough knowledge of vocabulary, grammar, collocations, connotations, phrasal verbs, expressions. And as we continue learning, we keep increasing what we know. Sometimes it feels like, and as a yoga teacher, I'm sure you know this phrase, sometimes it feels like the more you know, the more you don't know. So learning a language is a never-ending process, even when it's your native language. Then you might know all the grammar and the vocabulary you will ever need. Think of moving or teaching abroad, understanding and distinguishing accents or dialects, being able to name them or imitate them. These are things that you sometimes even can't do in your own language. So, learning a language is a skill, and learning a language requires a lot of strength to keep going. Then point number 2, important to know, learning to speak a language is a skill. Learning a language is a challenge. Learning to speak a language is a skill. So when you learn to speak a language, you're challenged to actually put all your knowledge into practice. And we do this by developing our productive skills. So the productive skills are writing and speaking. When you learn how to speak, you're using the things that you have learned in class or that you have learned by reading books, things that you have learned by watching TV, but you're now using all these things in a practical way because you have to produce it. And this is much harder than it actually sounds. So it's not an instant transition. Doing a vocabulary exercise in a textbook or online doesn't mean that you can actually use this vocabulary or these expressions in your day-to-day life the day after. So being able to use this language and speak a language fluently, we have to work hard on balancing variety of linguistic skills and gain confidence to communicate effectively and learn to express yourself and make yourself understood. Point number 3, learning to teach yoga is another challenge, which is actually an expertise, especially if you do it in a language that's not your own or not your first. So, learning to teach yoga in English is an expertise. When learning how to teach yoga in English, you're not only challenged to bring these skills into practice and express yourself clearly. So when I say this, you're not only challenged to bring the skills of reading, writing, listening, and speaking into practice and express yourself clearly, but you're also challenged to create a space that is safe for others, a space in which others or your students can explore their own body and mind. We need words and expressions that are generally understood and accepted, that are general enough to not provoke trauma, and are also inclusive, because you're there to evoke curiosity among the practitioners to develop their own yoga practice. You're there to transmit the practice or the studies or lifestyle through open, clear, and accessible communication. So yoga is a holistic experience, and you know all of this. Yoga is a holistic experience. So as a yoga teacher, you potentially influence multiple areas of your students' lives. We take on a lot of responsibility to be knowledgeable of the practice and the content that we choose for our classes. It requires you to be alert and aware of your students' experiences and considerate of your students' own unique individual needs and approaches. Then, as a last point here, why teaching yoga in English is an expertise, we also have to hold ourselves accountable for the risks we take and the mistakes we make. Because not everything will always go right. You're not everyone's cup of tea. And there's always risks and there's always mistakes. It's not all about being really good at yoga and being able to do all the amazing asanas and showing them how to do it. You're there to teach them, and teaching them means something else. It means that you have a variety of knowledge, that it's not just your yoga practice, but also, for example, health issues, anatomy, communication, education, methodology, language use, the coexistence of cultures, languages, behavior around people. This list again goes on. Teaching really is an expertise and a skill you can learn, but it does require commitment. It's also about knowing your boundaries and respecting your students' boundaries, and being able to admit when you're surpassing the area of expertise, being able to admit mistakes, or being able to admit when things didn't maybe go as planned. All right? So, learning a language is a challenge. Learning to speak a language is a skill. Learning to teach yoga in English is an expertise. Now that you understand that learning to teach yoga is one thing, but learning to teach yoga in another language really takes time, commitment, loads of practice, probably failing and making mistakes too. It's an ongoing and personal, professional development process. And you can do all of this by yourself. You can do it all on your own. But remember that the practices and teachings of yoga are passed down from teacher to student. A teacher is there to support you and gives you feedback and helps you to grow further to reach your full potential. It's for no other reason that your teachers, or maybe the studio owners, or in my early days as an English teacher, the director of studies, they join your classes to observe. You all know that maybe that feeling of people observing your classes. They don't do that to judge you. They never do that just to judge you or tell the other people, hey, they are really great teachers, or hey, they are really bad teachers. They are there to give you feedback. They are there to give you feedback on the things that you do well, on the things that you can improve, and help you with the improvement. So seeking help of a teacher never is a sign of weakness. It doesn't mean that you don't know enough. It really just means that you allow yourself the support that you need. Your teacher can only bring you further to achieving what you want to do with your yoga teaching career. So find out for yourself first where you are at the moment, what you could improve, and recognize when it's time to seek help, and know where to find help or find the help that you need. All right, so important things to know before we dive into the 6 steps to becoming a confident English-speaking yoga teacher. Number 1, understand where you are at and define your goals. So understand what you're good at, what you already know, what you need to improve, and how you can improve this. As an English learner and yoga teacher, this point specifically focuses on the vocabulary and your receptive and productive skills. So remember, receptive and productive skills are reading, writing, listening, and speaking. After you understand where you are at, it's time to define your goals. So how can you turn the points that you want to improve into realistic goals? You can do this by creating a step-by-step plan, or you can do this by creating a year's plan. Where do you want to be in a year from now? Who, where, and what do you want to teach? Why? Specifically, why do you want to teach this? What's your purpose? What gives you a sense of fulfillment? Really ask yourself these detailed questions to find your inner motivation for learning how to teach yoga in English. First, notice or define where you are at and set yourself realistic goals. When you know where you're at and what your goals are, you can create an action plan. And we're going to speak that later on. I just want to mention for those that would like to know more about their level of English, I have an English grammar and yoga vocabulary test, like a level test, on the website. So if you go to engaunite.com and you click on courses or free learning materials, you will see English grammar and yoga vocabulary test, and you can test your English there, specifically for teaching yoga. Step number 1, understand where you're at and define your goals. Step number 2, expand your vocabulary bank for cueing and giving instructions. Once you know where you are at and what your goals are, you can start developing your language for the specific type of yoga you want to teach. So this could be yoga for women in their menopause, or yoga for children with ADHD, or yoga combined with Ayurveda, yoga for athletes, whatever it is that you want to teach. And you know this because you have defined your goals. So remember that all specific groups have their own type of language and focus points within their yoga practice. It's therefore really important that you do make this goal, or that you do set goals for yourself, or you create an action plan before you start expanding your vocabulary bank for cueing and giving instructions. Because yes, you do need a general understanding of all the general yogic vocabulary. But remember, just as going to a general English class doesn't get you much further, to be a confident English-speaking yoga teacher, we are here to get really specific and find the language that you need for your classes. So the things that really truly resonate and work for your classes. So step number 2, expand your vocabulary bank for cueing and giving instructions, but make sure you define your goals first. Then number 3, learn how to deal with difficult, unexpected, new or uncommon situations. So as a yoga teacher, you know that you are faced with all types of challenges. Think of people with injuries, or people that leave the room early, people that complain about aches and pains, but also people that ask for things that maybe you feel uncomfortable with. For example, people that ask if they can practice naked, or things that you are unfamiliar with. It might be that you have a student that asks you for asanas when they have a hip replacement, and this might not be something that you have studied before. So these are situations that you might not really know what to say or what to do. It's very common that we feel that way. When I taught English in schools, in specific language schools, I love the classes where we practice disagreement or negotiation or handling complaints, because it's very funny to see that even though we all struggle with these challenges at one point in our life, and for us in our yoga practices or with our students, everyone handles these situations very differently. Even though we still need to learn specific language to respect the receivers and our own boundaries, and confidently dare to say no, dare to say that you don't know, or disagree with something, or admit that you can't help someone, because this happens. You can't always help everyone. So this aspect of language learning comes with many mistakes. It's natural and it's necessary, but it's nothing to fear. It's completely fine. It happens to everyone. And this is part of our journey as language learners, as yoga teachers, and human beings in life. So learning how to deal with difficult, unexpected, new, uncommon situations. There will be times that you're not satisfied with how you dealt with this situation. So try to not put it to the back of your mind or beat yourself up about it. Some people like to forget about it and do as if it never happened. Other people try to avoid similar situations and stop themselves or give up from what they truly want to do. But in order to avoid making the same mistakes or ending up in a similar situation, we want to find out how we can improve this type of language and how we can deal with this better. So reflect on this and evaluate. How can I avoid this type of situation in the future? What do I need to improve? Where can I learn this? And who or what do I need to learn from? Think of a situation in which you maybe gave the wrong advice or the wrong recommendations, or situations in which you really didn't know what to do or what to say, or when someone asked for specific asanas or specific poses and you forgot about it during the practice. These are things that is nothing to fear or nothing to shy away from, but things that we can improve. So evaluate for yourself, what are the things that I can improve, and what type of guidance or material do I need to improve this? Okay, so step number 3, learn how to deal with difficult, unexpected, new or uncommon situations. Then step number 4, understand the different experiences and abilities of your students and learn how to make your classes suitable, personal and adaptable to everyone. Now, I know nowadays a lot of us are working with niches, so specific target groups or specific groups of people. Yoga for moms, yoga for children, yoga for athletes, it could be very specific. But within these groups of people, there are different abilities and experiences too. There's different body types, different states of minds, different injuries that people deal with. So learn how to make your classes suitable, personal, and adaptable for everyone. When teaching in a studio and even online, I hope to see a lot of different people in your classes. My teacher once said that the best teachers have a variety of students in their classes. And if all students look the same as the teacher likely, not always, but likely teaches according to their own body type. I hope that makes sense. So if there's a teacher that only has people in their classes that look the exact same as the teacher, they are likely to teach according to their own body type. So, to make your classes suitable, personal, and adaptable for everyone, you will first need to learn how to read bodies, in person and online. You will learn how to recognize what asanas are challenging or less challenging for different body types. You will need to learn how to explain variations, explain use of props according to what you have observed by reading the body. And you will need to keep an open mind to let the students explore the asanas in a way that's comfortable to them. But remain honest. Always remain honest. This type of knowledge doesn't grow overnight. You might not be knowledgeable enough at the moment to actually give recommendations or advice or adjust your asana sequences on every body type. We can't know everything all the time. So include every student's experience in your sequences and in the way that you plan your classes. For example, if you have a pregnant person coming to your class and you haven't ever studied prenatal yoga, or this is not something that you are familiar with, you must be honest. Most of the time with your students, the only thing you do here is gain respect and trust. It shows that you are responsible and that you're understanding, that you know your qualities, but that you also respect the health and the well-being of the student. So that doesn't mean that you don't have to educate yourself. Do something with this responsibility and actually read up on it. Maybe do a workshop. Maybe seek information on the internet or in specific books. Do something, because this person won't be the last person with the same challenge coming to your yoga class. Okay, so understand different experience and abilities of your students and learn how to make your classes suitable, personal, and adaptable. Then number five, create an all-round experience and offer more than just asana. So I'm saying just asana because there's more to our practices than the physicality. Learn how to write mindfulness scripts, meditation scripts, use metaphorical or imaginable language during your yoga classes. So let's think back, because most of you here are language learners. For those that are language learners, think back to the first time you understood a joke in another language. Maybe it was a joke, maybe it was a sarcastic comment, and you understood it straight away. How did that feel? How did it feel to first understand a joke or a sarcastic comment? Because I bet you felt pretty proud of yourself to have reached this next level in your language learning. You probably have felt that you were truly effective in that language or understand humor, and that you were aware of participating in more complex conversations. So the same happens with teaching yoga. One thing is to instruct a yoga class, but another thing is to create an experience. You know all too well that your students don't come to yoga just to stretch their bodies. They are there to also enjoy a moment to themselves, to connect their minds, body and breath, and maybe even reflect on specific themes. Maybe setting intentions, cultivating positive energy, releasing negative energy. There's many things and many reasons people come to your classes for. So whatever it is, these intentions, or I wouldn't say goals, but the purposes of your yoga classes do require specific language that is more than just simple instructions. Therefore, to become a confident English speaking yoga teacher, it's important that you know how to write and how to speak during your mindfulness and meditation practices, that you use metaphorical language or language for imagination, and that you do all of this again in an inclusive way. So all of this language still needs to be inclusive and prevent people from thinking of their trauma. So this point again takes some time and practice, because it does require skill and deep knowledge to understand your first joke in English or in another language that you learn. So these metaphors are the same thing. It's another next level of teaching yoga. Amazing. So number 5, create an all-round experience and of a more than just asana. Learn how to write mindfulness scripts, meditation scripts, and use metaphorical or language for imagination. Then number 6, learn how to read your class and pull out themes according to what you see, feel, hear when you get into the room or when you get to Zoom. Okay, so read your class. Now, sometimes you get to your yoga class and you have your sequence prepared, you've got your theme prepared, you might even have a music playlist. But when you get into the room, you can tell that in no way this class is actually appropriate. There might be people that have injuries, there might be people very low on energy or high on energy. You just notice that the class isn't really a good class for this present moment. So, reading the room. You might have heard reading the room in your yoga teacher training, or you might have heard other teachers using it. Reading the room means that you know how to read body language, facial expressions, gestures, emotions, feelings, but also energies that are in the room and come from the people that participate. This you do in the room of your studio or wherever you are teaching, in a park or at home. But also on Zoom, because even if you're teaching virtually, you can still sense a lot and sense the energy of the people that come to your classes. Remember that your class is not about you and how good you are at what you have prepared, or how much you would like your people to experience what you have prepared. It really is about your students and how they feel and how you can improve their well-being in that moment. So by investigating their needs and looking for cues with the knowledge that you have, you can create classes according to what works for them in the present moment. To offer these personal practices and these personal classes, it's important that you have loads of practice yourself, but also maybe create a bank or a notebook full of different types of sequences and themes if you like to theme your classes. This means that wherever you go, whoever you're teaching, you're always prepared. You always have something to fall back on. No matter who shows up in your class, or no matter what state they are in, or no matter what state the world is in, you've got themes and classes that you can use whenever people need them. So this is a very important skill. It is actually one of the highest skills, I would say, and this again comes with practice, but you're capable of this. I'm sure that everyone here, everyone that's watching this or listening to this on the podcast later, you are capable of obtaining or developing yourself in this expertise. So number 6, learning how to read your class and pull out themes according to what you see, feel, hear when you get into the room or when you get on Zoom. It might be that you feel pretty skilled already and that you master all these skills and that you feel confident enough, but you want to look for teaching opportunities in other places and start your own yoga business. Now, this is another chat that I'm going to speak about a lot in the coming weeks. We've got interviews with Kelly from the Digital Yoga Academy, with Manu from Emprendedores de Yoga, and we've got an interview with Michelle. And Michelle is from My Vinyasa Practice. This is all in the 3rd week of August. And we're going to speak about yoga business, but also about inclusive language. So if you're interested in this, I would love for you to see you there. But today as well, I want to mention that if you like this topic and you feel ready to work on these 6 steps to become a confident English-speaking yoga teacher, we've got a free mini course. It's a 3-day course in which you will set your yoga teaching goals, expand your vocabulary bank, you will learn how to write a script in English, and you will get real teaching practice. Because having all this knowledge and having the time to develop yourself, you need to also be able to put this into practice. And this is something we often miss in our yoga teacher trainings, and I find really, really important. It's the same with learning languages. Developing all your skills is one thing, is the challenge. But learning how to teach is a skill that you can learn and requires specific teaching practices. So this is what we're going to do in the free mini course, Teach Yoga in English free mini course. It starts on the 7th of September and lasts 3 days. If you're interested in this, go to the link in my bio because you can sign up already. Some of you will have received an email, so you can check it there too. If you're very, very serious about this and you actually want to take a course to really, really go through these 6 steps in a period of 6 months, we've got an English for Yoga Teachers course where you will learn all of this with personal guidance from me and many, many, many teaching practices, because this is really necessary. So there's conversation classes, teaching practices. You will get access to an online learning platform. There's online training with me and unlimited support. I'm going to be there all the way. And we speak about all these specific things. So you can go to the website, and at the bottom, the right corner of the bottom, you can sign up there for the English for Yoga Teachers course. But today was about the 6 steps. So let me summarize quickly. Important to know 3 things. Important to know. Learning a language is a challenge. Learning to speak a language is a skill. Learning to teach yoga in another language is an expertise. And the 6-step process, starting with number 1, is understand where you're at and define your goals. Number 2, expand your vocabulary bank for cueing and giving instructions. Number 3, learn how to deal with difficult, unexpected, new and uncommon situations. Number 4, understand the different experiences and abilities of your students and learn how to make your classes suitable, personal and adaptable. Number 5, create an all-round experience and offer more than just asana. So learning how to write mindfulness scripts or meditation scripts and use metaphorical or language for imagination. And number 6, learning how to read your class and pull out themes according to what you see, feel or hear when you get into the room. So reading the room. Amazing. We specifically focus on people that don't speak English as their first language. So when we speak about expanding the vocabulary bank, for example, we get very specific to make it really productive for you personally. And that's why I think it's really, really focused towards non-native English-speaking yoga teachers. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. If you have questions later on, send me a message or write an email at annie@engaunite.com. Feel free to sign up for the mini course. Starts on the 7th of September. Amazing, guys. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys soon. Lots of love. If you feel inspired and like what you learned today, I'd love for you to leave a review. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us at Enga Unite. Join the community and become a member of the Teach Yoga in English support group on Facebook. Practice, rest, repeat, and all will come.